You know that feeling when you finally splurge on a cheap studio flash, only to have it sputter out halfway through a shoot and leave you scrambling for extra light? I've seen that happen a lot. People go for the low-price starter Monolight, thinking they're saving money, and end up with a lot of wasted time, missed shots, and a dent in their confidence. The question I keep hearing is whether a higher-end unit like the Profoto Prod 3 actually justifies the cost, or if it's another pricey gimmick. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Prod 3 is marketed as an industrial-grade monolight, and that's not just a buzzword. It's built for environments where you're firing a lot of shots in a row. Think fashion runways, commercial product studios, or even on-location shoots that need a reliable, high-output source. The fast recycling time they brag about isn't a theoretical number. It translates into you being able to keep the shutter clicking while the light recharges, which is a huge advantage when you're dealing with models who can't stay still for long. In practice, I've watched photographers push the power to the 750-watt peak and still see the next burst within a second or two, which is a big deal when you're trying to capture movement or spontaneous expressions. So who really benefits from a setup like this? If you're a professional who runs a studio, does high-end portrait work, or shoots large product batches where consistency is king, the Prod 3's 3 flash modes give you a lot of creative control. The normal mode is your go-to for steady, repeatable output. The high-speed mode lets you crank the recycle speed for fast action, and the custom mode lets you dial in a specific power curve that can be saved for later. For a commercial photographer, that means you can lock in the exact output you need for a series of product shots and never have to guess if the next frame will be a shade brighter or dimmer. The remote that comes in the bundle Profoto's Connect Pro doesn't rely on TTL, which might sound like a downside if you're used to automatic exposure, but it actually forces you to think about your lighting ratios, giving you tighter control over the final image. That level of manual precision is something many pros swear by because it eliminates the auto-adjust surprises that can ruin a carefully composed shot. On the flip side, if you're just getting started with studio lighting, the Prod 3 might feel like overkill. The price point is steep compared with entry-level monolights, and the lack of TTL means you'll spend more time dialing in settings rather than letting the camera do the work. For hobbyists who only shoot a few portraits a month or do occasional product photography, a cheaper speedlight or a smaller monolight could provide enough punch without the heavy bag you have to lug around. Also, the unit is fairly large and not exactly handheld friendly. You'll need a sturdy light stand, a power source. Most people run it off a dedicated AC outlet or a large battery pack and a bit of real estate on set. If your shooting space is cramped or you're constantly on the move, that could become a logistical headache. One of the practical strengths that often gets missed in spec sheets is how the Prod 3 handles heat. Because it's industrial grade, the housing dissipates heat efficiently, so you can run it at high power for longer periods without the kind of thermal throttling you see on cheaper units. I've seen photographers run the light at 80% for an entire half-day shoot without the output dropping, which is a relief when you're shooting a fashion spread and can't afford a dip in light midway through the day. The 3 flash modes also give you flexibility when you need to switch between a soft, diffused look and a hard, dramatic punch without swapping out gear. You can attach a softbox, a beauty dish, or a grid and still rely on the same light source, which keeps your kit lighter overall. However, there are hidden trade-offs to keep in mind. The remote control is non-TTL, which, as I mentioned, forces manual adjustments. That's great for control, but it also means you need to be comfortable with measuring light output with a meter or trusting your experience. There's no just point-and-shoot convenience, so if you're used to camera-controlled flashes, there's a learning curve. Additionally, because the Prod 3 runs on a high-capacity power source, you'll need to invest in either a reliable AC connection on location or a substantial battery pack. That adds to the overall cost and the amount of gear you have to manage. In terms of daily usability, the light's interface is straightforward: a rotary dial for power, a button to toggle between the 3 flash modes, and a small LCD that shows the current setting. It's not cluttered with menus, which helps you make quick changes when you're in the middle of a shoot. The Connect Pro remote pairs with the light via a dedicated wireless protocol.